Okay, before you install your one objective mount onto your kayak, you're going to want to make sure that you install the anchors that come with it. It'd probably be a good idea to do what I did and make sure you put it on something flat. Probably use a hammer too. I just didn't want to crack it, so I didn't want to get, the only hammer I have is like a bigger size hammer. But anyway, those are in, and so now we can screw our puck on top of here, and we'll be able to take the motor on and off now, and the puck will be bolted on right here. So let's get this thing put on the kayak, and let's get the holes drilled. Now, one thing that I noticed on a lot of people's mounts that they got is it did not include this piece here. And this is an important piece because if you don't use it, then your mount in the very front up here dives down that way. And when it dives down that way, your whole motor dives down that way. So this piece props it up, and what it'll do is I'll show you right here. And so once you get this piece here, right up in there like that, this piece will sit on top, and then this will sit on top here, and you'll screw it in there. All right, and then what that does, like I said, it keeps it nice and flat instead of diving down. Without that piece, it would sit down lower and makes the trolling motor sit lower. Okay, so as far as the hardware goes, you can mount this thing in this hole, you know, this hole and this hole, or this hole and this hole. If you need it to go a little forward, you can. I want it to go as far back as I can. That way it just centers more of the weight on the kayak. So we're going to use the front one here and the front one there. And you want to make sure that you use a washer on the top here. Even though the heads of these are collared, you still want to use a washer. Okay, so we got that on there, and we'll go ahead and shove it through the piece that, like I say, a lot of you guys are missing, and that bottom piece there. Usually it helps a lot if you put that piece on first. Okay, and then on the underside, you'll put these two washers and these two nylon nuts. Okay, so the nut underneath is a 7/16, and so you can get a 7/16 ratchet wrench, however you want to do it. Just make sure you don't tighten it too much, because then you'll crack the mount and it won't be fun for you. Okay, so just because you got this tightened down doesn't mean that the mount is nice and straight. You still have to line it up, and so you're going to want to put hold this here like this, and then when you're ready, hold it and drill your hole down, and then stick one of the bolts in. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and then with this other hole here drilled, put that in there, and then you'll want to come up under the other side, and you can put these washers here, which are sufficient enough according to Minn Kota, but you could also come back, you can also put one of these on there and just make it that much more sturdy, that much more secure. So once those are on there, like I said, go up under there and put those on there, and you'll be all good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and get that puck mounted on here, and then we'll get on to the next step. All right, so this is the puck, and this is what's going to help us be able to take our motor on and off. Get some of the hardware here, and we'll be able to just screw straight into there since we already pounded our anchor nuts in there. All right, once you got those screwed down, we get on to the next step. But I do recommend after your first trip or two out that you come back and tighten these screws down, because those anchors could have got pulled up into the plastic a little bit more and might loosen up a little bit on you. But yeah, just retighten those. But that part is good to go. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is get the trolling motor prepped. So I turned the whole unit upside down, and there's 2 Phillips screws on the side that I had to take out, and that will give you access to be able to put a nut right underneath here. And when you screw in the bolts, that way it'll keep that mount there nice and tight to it. All right, so let's go ahead and get that done. All right, so we got 4 washers, 4 nylon threaded nuts, and they are 7/16. So we're going to remove that other side. And another thing too is when you're putting this on, you're going to want to put this piece here on there, and you're going to want to make sure that you line it up here and get a bolt going through there so it holds that on. That's your locking mechanism, or a little post that you'll be able to put a padlock on so you can bolt it on or keep it safe. All right, so let's get the other side off over there, and then we'll be able to bolt this whole thing on. Okay, so did that side. It's kind of hard to do. You kind of want to leave the screw out first and then position the washer with the nut underneath, and then drop the screw down on top of it, or the bolt down on top of it, and then screw it on. But anyway, that part's on. I'm going to do the other side real quick and call it done. Okay, so the bottom mount is now put on, and we could go ahead and mount this to the actual kayak now. All right, so go ahead and mount the sucker on there. Just drops right on, no problem. And then you're going to take your piece here and your pin here. So you got this piece, which is your locking bracket, and go ahead and slide that right into the holes there. I have to wiggle it around sometimes, but see, that's all the way in. And then you can put your locking pin right here, or you could put a padlock, however you want to do it. And it is not going anywhere now. So you cannot remove this unless this comes off, or your lock, and this comes out. Once this comes out, now you're free to remove it. All right, okay, so now that we've got it mounted on there and everything's good, looks straight, looks really nice, exactly how I wanted it. Now we can go over to the electrical side. All right, now for the wiring. So I went ahead and just put this plug in. I drilled a hole, popped it in there. I believe it's made by Marinco, and I think it's like a 70 amp. I just like it so much better than the Anderson connectors. It has a little arrow on top, and little arrow on top right there, so you're just always making sure you connect it. And just have 2 wires connecting to the bottom post, 2 wires connecting to the bottom post here. And I just think it looks really nice, and just doesn't stick out as much, nowhere near as much. All right, so let's go ahead and I'll show you how I crimped the female spade connectors onto the 6-gauge wire. All right, so that plug that I just showed you here goes down into the hatch here, and then it's going to connect to that safety switch. So, but you know, using this bigger 6-gauge cable, it's really tough to find one of these connectors here that's in a 6-gauge. It's even tough to find them in an 8. So what I did is I just went ahead and got one of these metal ones where the crimp right here has a slit, so that way you can open it up a little bit. And so what I did was I just opened it up like so, and then I was able to slide my wire in there. And then once I slid my wire in there, then I went ahead and crimped it down. I crimped it down, and then when I crimped it down, there was still a gap right here. And so what I did was I soldered across there, you know, making sure that I soldered the wire really well. And so it's basically just all became one when I was done there. And then this here is the final product. You can see here, soldered all nice, shrink wrapped. And make sure you get a good shrink wrap too, because you know, this stuff has like an adhesive in it that kind of squirts out when you heat it up. So we'll get this hooked up to there. The red hooks to the blue peg on the safety switch, and the black hooks to the yellow. So yeah, blue, yellow. So all right, well, that's how I did that, and let's get on with it. Okay, so in order to put this safety switch in, I'm going to need to find a spot, and I have found a spot, and I will go ahead and show you right now. But I'm sure you guys have seen this right here. This is a magnet, and it's got a cord attached to it, and so I can put this inside the hole, and on the side I could go ahead and drag it with this and drag it over to the hole that I need. But I have a hole through on my kayak that I just put back there because I was using it for something else, and I just decided to no longer use it. And so that's going to allow me to go ahead and not have to drill any more holes. I'll show you where it's at here. So that's the hole right there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use this magnet. All right, my garage is dirty, my kayak's dirty, my trailer's dirty. It's very well used, that's for sure. So some of the places I've been going, the water's been a little bit lower, and so I've been running into a lot of, you know, algae and all kinds of stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and run this through and then get it pulled out through there, and then I will show you my idea. Okay, so you can see I got it right here. And now, so this is kind of my idea. You can see this is where the hole through goes right there. And that thing can just stick out right there. And then this piece will go right over it, and the holes line up too. So that way I don't have to drill any extra holes and just use my hole through that I've already got. And so what we do is attach this to here, and then I can pull it through all the way to where the controller is going to be. Alright, and you can see we got the line right there, the orange line. And right there on the bottom of the board is where the safety switch is going to go. So we're there, and so now I can go ahead and put that hole through back together. Okay, it's on there, and I think it turned out pretty well. So now when we put this on there, it'll just be able to come right off. No problems, come right off. And so this is a really good spot for it because it's out of the way. I'm not going to accidentally rip it off, and it doesn't come in contact with the seat either, and the hole through is all sealed up. So alright, let's go ahead and mount that safety switch real quick, and then we'll plug it up, and then we'll run those wires to the very back to where the battery is going to be. Okay, so let's go ahead and install the wires coming out of the back here, and they'll be able to connect it to the battery, and I'm going to do that using this step-up bit. Man, it is hot out here, so I hope you guys are hitting that subscribe and like button. Appreciate it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put that hole right at the furthest back as I can, so that way it doesn't get in the way of anything. And so, you know, the hatch that I have here that I have a video on if you want to go check out how to do that. I reached my hand back there and there's nothing back there, so go ahead and put that in there, and then we'll go ahead and put the hole through. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and get the wire fed through the hole and get it ready to be grabbed with the magnet string that we're going to run through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tape it to here, and that way I don't lose it on the inside of there. Okay, so as you can see, I got the wire to come out. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this jacket back a little bit. Okay, so you can see here that I've got the plug installed. Again, just drill the hole and use the 70 amp Marinco plug. This is the outlet, and this right here is what I have hooked to my battery. So the plug that hooks the trolling motor to to the battery is the same type of plug that hooks the battery up to the trolling motor. So I'm able to close it. You know, there's a little arrow right here, as like I showed you with the other one there. Arrows right here, really easy to line it up. And then you can just close it here, and you don't have to worry about water getting in or anything like that. I think it would still be a good idea to put some type of dielectric grease or some type of grease in here just to be on the safe side. But other than that, everything's going to be good, and I'm not worried about it. The only time water could get in here anyway is when it's unplugged, and when it's unplugged there's no power to it, so really not worried about it. But yeah, really easy to plug in here. You just lift up this little deal there, plugs right in, no problem. Nice and clean, and goes right to the battery right here. Alright, so I'm using the Power Queen 100 amp hour, which is plenty to last me, you know, a day and a half on the water. But I have solar and other stuff that will be charging another battery, you know, like during a tournament. That way, you know, the next day I could use a fresh battery, and you know, so we'll see. I know that these batteries last quite a while, so but I haven't fished a tournament yet with this whole setup, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, this is the Power Queen 100 amp hour. It's the low temp Bluetooth, and so it'll hook up to your phone. And so I'll make sure to leave a link down for everything that that I'm putting in here. And of course we have the 60 amp fuse that you want as close as you can to the battery. And so basically I have a piece of double-sided tape that I'm going to be putting on here, and I'm going to stick it to the battery here. And then the little tiny piece will go from here right to the power side, and then everything's hooked up. So, but I've already cut the little piece right here. I just haven't added it on yet. So anyway, let's go ahead and connect the other side of this wire to the safety switch. Okay, so you can see my wires come right here, and so I didn't want a lot of extra wiring, and so I kind of got them just right, you know, where I need them. And this one right here goes to my battery when I'm running my 30 amp trolling motor on the back, just to, like in the ponds and stuff. And then this other system we're putting in now will be for the bigger lakes and the bigger places that I go to. So So let me go ahead and get those plugged up and we'll go from there. Okay, so the two wires that are the two colors here, the red and the black, that's the positive and negative for your battery. And then this here is for the trolling motor, and your blue is going to be your power. So to make sure you get that correct and you don't accidentally hook it up to the wrong one, that's going to be the power from the trolling motor right here. That's all done with that there. Alright, so I've got the motor put on now, and got the battery installed. Gonna go ahead and attach our kill switch and then go ahead and operate this. Alright, so I have it kind of high right now so that way it doesn't come into contact with any of my stuff down there. But you can see we got everything working good. We got the prop that came on right there. We turn it down. So everything is good to go. No issues with it. Install is good. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. The install went really well. Don't think I'm going to have any issues. Everything seems pretty solid. Solder where you can solder, and everything should be good for you. If you guys have any questions, put them below. If you're here from Facebook or anywhere else and you haven't subscribed, please do that. Helps the channel a lot. And again, the next video will be on the lift and how to get it deployed and retracted from your seat. All right, you guys have a good day.